Hi everyone, this is Broken Angel, and I'm here for week 2 of Mark Brunet's one-year plan to learn to draw. Last week I mentioned that I was going to work on observation, so I'll be keeping that in mind each day. Like week 1, I'm going to be going through gesture drawing, perspective basics using basic to increasingly complex shapes, and line art studies. Without further ado, let's see how I did. For day 1, I did basic shapes and went to level 2 from Draw Like a Sir's video. I did a total of 51 shapes split between boxes, cylinders, and cones. For the most part, the lines were straight but weren't always accurate. I noticed that I struggled with perspective on many of the shapes, particularly the boxes and cylinders, but the cones mostly had good perspective. I'd also say that I divided them pretty well, like Draw Like a Sir does in his video. Certain angles were tricky for the cones and cylinders, so I worked on them a bit extra. Overall, I'd say I'm pretty happy with the results, but it still needs some work. For day 2, I started with 3 4-minute gesture drawings. For each one, I took a minute before drawing it to study the pose in order to improve my observation. My estimations were better than last week, though they weren't perfect. For the first 2, I ran out of space and had too much room between the torso and hips. For the third one, the head was too small and too far left. I'd say it was better than last week, so I'm happy with the results. After that, I drew 27 shapes and split them up the same way as day 1. I'd say I did better with the perspective on each shape today. For instance, most of the cylinders and cones had consistent ovals, which I noticed was a problem on day 1. For several of the shapes, I drew past where I needed to, since I will be able to erase them for actual drawings in the future. It was better than yesterday, but I still have a ways to go. For day 3, I drew 33 shapes that were split up the same way. For the boxes, I used a Y generator that I found in order to get the front point and then connected the sides. Today was definitely more of a struggle than the previous days were. For instance, several lines took multiple attempts, and the perspective was messed up on a few. This struggle shows that progress isn't always linear. Even with the struggle, several turned out pretty well, and I did a pretty good job of dividing most of the shapes. For day 4, I drew Stark from Fear and Beyond Journey's End, Season 1, during the scene where he's dancing with Fern. There are several parts where I can improve. For example, the head was too tall, which led to the face looking too narrow. I also drew the sash incorrectly, with it being too far to the right and not wide enough. I also missed several details due to the level of difficulty. On the other hand, I did some parts pretty well. The visible arm was drawn well, and I did a good job of capturing the hair. Also, it seems that the body was proportioned correctly. Overall, I'd say that the observation helped, but I still need to improve it. For day 5, I started with 3 5-minute gesture drawings. For each of them, I once again took a minute before drawing to observe the pose. Some of the parts definitely didn't turn out correctly. For example, the legs were a bit messed up on the first 2, and the arm on the second one was drawn weirdly. Also, the head and the hips were too small on the third one, along with generally being too narrow. For the basic shapes, I drew a total of 27 and split them up the same way as before. The perspective was quite a bit better, with the cylinders and cones having consistent ovals and the boxes having consistent vanishing points. There were some shapes where I messed up, but they are becoming fewer as I go along. Once again, I drew past where I needed in order to make sure that the shapes were complete. For day 6, I drew Fern from the same scene as Stark from the previous line art. This drawing turned out a lot better than the last one. Observation definitely improved, but it can still be worked on. I did several things well today, like the hair in the back, as well as the hanging parts being done pretty well. I also did a good job of drawing the clothes and most of the facial features. The one that needs to be worked on the most is the eye, which went a bit too far back. I also drew the top of the head a bit too flat and the arm at the wrong angle, which messed with the look of the sleeve a little bit. Overall, I'm very happy with it, and it turned out very well. For day 7, I started with 3 5-minute gesture drawings and took a minute to observe the pose before each drawing. There were definitely parts that were done well, such as the hips and above for the first one, and the hips and below for the second one, and the third one was good overall, but was just a bit too narrow. Other parts that could have been improved was that the leg was too thick and the foot was too small in the first one, and the torso was too thin and the arm was too thick on the second. For the line art study that I did today, I drew Eren Yeager from Attack on Titan Season 3. Most of it was done pretty well, and I'd say that observation helped with that. The hair shape was captured pretty well, even if bits were too wobbly. The mouth, nose, and eyebrows were done pretty well, though the eyes could use some work. Most of the muscles were accurate to the picture, aside from the shoulder on the right side from our perspective being too small, and the lats on the same side being at the wrong angle. Overall, I'd say both the gesture drawings and the line art study were good today. Overall, this week went pretty well. For gesture drawing, I'd definitely say that there was improvement, especially compared to last week. The proportions and angles were better, the flow was good, and I was able to draw even faster. I still need to work on the size of different parts, but I can tell that I've improved. For basic shapes, the line confidence and perspective improved a lot, but there's still a ways to go. Because of this, I'll be staying on level 2 from Draw Like a Sir's video and possibly move to level 3 in week 4. For the line art studies, I noticed a leap in quality. I will note that I was a bit ambitious with drawing the dance scene with Stark and Fern, since several of the details were beyond my skill level. Regardless, it turned out better than I expected. I believe this is because I worked on my observation skill, so I'll make sure to keep working on it. Other than observation, I'll make sure to work on my perspective and line confidence, since I noticed that I struggled with both this week. Overall, I'm really happy with my progress this week, even though I struggled on several of the days. If you're going through a journey of learning something, whether it's art or not, I'd love to hear about it in the comments, as well as any tips that you'd like to share. With that, it's 2 weeks down and 50 to go. I'll see you in week 3.